So I wanted to give you a copy of the answer key for the Chapter 8 test review sheet that you had to do the other day. And then I also wanted to talk you through it a little bit since I wasn't there to answer questions like we would in class. This way you can check against your work. I can confirm whether you're doing it the right way or you just happen to get lucky. So let's look at number one. We've talked about the input and the output. This, of course, is like a little work section. I've shown you in the past where I would do like a T-chart and just have the X and Y columns. So they filled in the first two for you here. All you really needed to do was calculate this. So of course the parentheses mean multiply. This would be 2 times 3 is 6, and then 6 plus 6 is 12. 2 times 9 is 18. 18 plus 6 is 24. And 2 times 7 is 34. 34 plus 6 is 40. If you had to do this on your own, notice that each of these numbers is what was in the input column. The only thing that changed in this entire column was that X value for each of the lines. The 2 was the same, the multiply was the same, the add was the same, the 6 was the same. We only changed the 3, the 9, and the 17. Okay, write a rule that can be used to find the value of the missing term. So here's a hint. When they ask for the rule, they're just going to want the expression, something in terms of n. When they want the equation, that's when you're going to have the y and the x. Okay, so a rule is just an expression, usually going to fill in like part of a chart. And then the equation is when you're going to have the y equals. All right, so how do we get from this? Well, I can do 1 times 5, or I can do 1 plus 4. Let's see what works here. 2 times 5 doesn't work, but 2 plus 4 does. How about 3 plus 4 and 4 plus 4? So whatever's on the top, I'm adding 4. Well, what if I call it n? If this is n, then the rule is going to be n plus 4. This is beautiful because if I wanted to find, I don't know, the 27th position, which would be like way down here, I don't have to do everything in front of it. I found that the top number plus 4 will give me the bottom number. And a lot of you probably figure that out. You're just struggling with how to write it. Okay, write an inequality. So we know we need a letter. I pick X just because that's what I've done for so many years. Wherever the dot is the number that goes in your inequality. This is a solid dot, so I'm going to have the line. The last thing actually that I would do is probably figure out which symbol is going to go here. I can do the X, I can do the 13, I can do the equals or not equals real quick. Now, all of the numbers that are on this line are 14, 15, 16. They're all bigger than 13. So this is the symbol for greater than, right? The thing that comes first is the open part, so that's greater than. X is greater than or equal to 13. I have a trick for you. I hesitate to tell you this every year, to tell my kids every year, but I'm going to tell you. As long as the letter comes first, as long as the letter is on the left, the symbol in the middle will point the same way as the arrow points. So this one is pointing to the right, so is the pointer of my symbol in the middle. It only works, however, when the letter comes first. If the letter's over here, it doesn't work. So if my inequality, like this one, I'll skip ahead for a second. This one is pointing to the left. If all of my letters come first, I know that I want the pointy part to go to the left. So real quickly, I can narrow this down to being only G or I, because those are the two that point to the same direction. We'll come back to this one. All right, let's go back to number 4. Which of the following is a solution of the inequality 3x is greater than or equal to 15? If you're doing this on paper, you would split this at the symbol. This is multiplication, so I'll divide by 3 and divide by 3. Over here I get x, over here I get 5. So my inequality is x is greater than or equal to 5. Out of all of these, which is greater than or equal to 5? Just D. Okay, now let's do this one. I hope that you caught on that all 4 of these were exactly the same. You're going to get n and you're going to get 5. It's a matter of what symbol goes in the middle. So by process of elimination, this is an open dot. I'm going to narrow it down to the 2 that do not have the line. No coloring, no line. So H or I. And if you think about what I talked about just a moment ago, the letter coming on the left is going to make your arrow also go to the left. I want 4, 3, 2, 1, all the things less than 5. So the answer for this is I. Cannot equal it. We didn't have the line. And then I want all the numbers that are smaller than, n is smaller than what would be 5, and we figure it out. Move on to page 2. You're going to undo both to the same thing to both sides. So if this is subtraction, you're going to undo it with addition. We're going to add 3 and add 3. Keep the same sign. We end up with x is less than or equal to 10. Number 7, this is multiplication when there's no symbol here. So we're going to divide by 3 and divide by 3. Keep the symbol. We get b is less than 6. This is a division sign. It's a fraction bar, but it's also a division sign. So we're going to undo that with multiplication. Multiply by 3 and multiply by 3. Keep the symbol. We get y is greater than 27. And you say, but I multiplied by 3. Why don't I get 9 over here? Because it's a multiply and a divide. Those end up canceling each other out, and you're left with just the y. Okay, going on to numbers 9 and 10. This one has the function table with the x and y, so they want the rule. We see that we can multiply by 4 or we can add 3. When I come to here, multiply by 4 works, so I think that's going to be my rule. This is going to be times 4. That does work. So what did I do to x to equal y? Y equals 4 times whatever x is. You could switch that and say 4x equals y. The side doesn't matter. More often, you're going to see it with the y, though, coming in lessons in the future. Let's look at number 10. We're going to, I don't know, there's lots of things. I could add nothing. I could subtract. I could multiply. Lots of things. Let's go to the next one and see what I got. So I can subtract 2. I could divide by 3. Down here, it looks like it's going to be the division. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Let's go back and check our zeros. If I do 0 divided by 3, yeah, I had nothing. Putting it into 3 piles still gives me nothing, so we're good. So I chose to write it with the slash because I was doing it with technology, a little bit easier than doing the dot line dot. So x, this column here, divided by 3 equals y. Y equals x divided by 3. We're looking here. This one's going to be just the expression. It doesn't have the x and the y, so we're just going to give the expression. I can do plus 7 or I can do times 8. Well, 2 plus 7 here does not give me what I need, but 2 times 8 does. 3 times 8, 4 times 8, whatever I pick, times 8. And you could write this as nx8, but this is a little bit cleaner, and this is what we're trying to get you used to seeing because this is how it's written most often. They ask you to write the expression or the rule. Sometimes you use words, you can use symbols. The expression is 8n, or you could say you're going to multiply by 8. And then they want the 15th term. You've probably noticed that this goes in order. 1, 2, 3, 4. You could write them all out. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way up to 15. But why would you waste your time? You've got a much, much, much faster way of doing this. Here, the pattern is actually that we add 8. Yes, the rule is multiply. But that's when you're going top to bottom. When I'm going across here, 8 plus 8 is 16. 16 plus 8, 24 plus 8, 32 plus 8, and go on and on and on. The problem is, you have to know everything in front of whatever you're trying to find. And I don't feel like finding all of those. If I can simply do 15 times 8, so much faster than having to do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way up to 15. Okay, that's the reason that we do these rules. We find these patterns. So 15 times 8 is 120. If I was to fill in the chart, I would have 15 on the top and 120 on the bottom. So we're going to go on to the third page now. This one asks for an equation, and it gives x and y. So you're not going to have the times n that you had before. You're actually going to have it as an equation. Here we're going to do 1 times 3. Let's see if that holds for the rest of the chart. 2 times 3. Yep, that works. 3 times 3. 4 times 3. So whatever the top is, or x, is times 3 to get the bottom, or y. Y equals 3 times x. That's your equation. For number 14, they've given us some options and we need to check. So we're going to put each one of these in for x and see which ones work. 3 times 11 is 33. 33 is less than 36, so that one works. That is an answer. 3 times 12 is 36, but this doesn't give me the equal sign, so 12 is not an option because although 36 equals 36, it's not one of the things that makes it true for this inequality. And then 13, 3 times 13 is 39, and that's not less, so that's not going to work. So for this situation, 11 was the only one that worked. For number 15, you'll notice that I gave 2 stars to point out that there were 2 things that you needed to do with this. Your inequality sentence is Hugo can spend no more than $10 on lunch. Now, you got to decide what's going to happen here. Can he spend more than $10? I think you'll agree, no, he can't spend more than $10. Can he spend less than $10? Can he spend 8 or 2 or 5? Yes. But can he spend exactly $10? In this case, yes. It says no more than, which means 10 is still acceptable. If it said he can spend only less than, then 10 would not be okay, and you would not put this equals mark here. So you pick your variable. I picked H for Hugo. You could pick S for spend, or M for money, or L for lunch, or just X because you're not feeling very creative today. The $10 from the problem, that's the number that's going to go here. We decided that it was things less than 10, so I put the one with the pointy part first because that's our less than symbol. And then it was allowed to equal 10, so we have to put the equal sign underneath of it also. H is less than or equal to 10. That's the inequality. Now we're going to graph it. Well, you know your dot's going to go at 10. I see the equal sign here, so it's going to be a filled in circle. And I want all the things less than 10, things like 9, 8, 7. Well, they're all down here, so the arrow is going to go to the left. And if you remember the trick that I told you up at the top, the letter comes first, which means the symbol points the same direction as the arrow. We have the letter first. This is pointing to the left, so the arrow is going to go to the left. It's a nice little double check for yourself. If you have any questions, please get in touch with me through email or through Google Hangouts chat before the test so that I can help you get your questions answered and you can do well on the test.